All right. We're seeing people come in, so we should go live now. Let's start. And I have all the panelists on screen. All right, fantastic. So hello and welcome everyone to our special webinar. But first, let me introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Tejas. I look after the outbound marketing strategy at Hurixdigital. Today we'll be discussing business analysts and the important role that the BA folks play in their organization. So welcome to the webinar, everyone, to the listeners. This webinar is brought to you by Hurixdigital and it's called BA Life Beyond User Stories. Now we feel that there are a lot of misconceptions or myths in the corporate world. What exactly is the role of BAs within projects? So some think that they are only creating use cases and user stories for the products, but that's not entirely true. Business analysts are actually agents of change who help to reduce your costs and increase efficiency for your projects. So to reveal the true nature of business analysts and their life, we have here a very special panel of experts today. Here with me, I'm going to introduce them all. Firstly, it's Sudesna Mahapatra. She's the head of BA services at Hurix. Next up is Ravi Sharma, who is the AVP of Technology Operations at Hurix again. Pankaj Munjal, who is a solutions architect. And then going ahead, we have finally, last but not the least, Zoeb Nomi, who is a fresher business analyst who recently joined Hurixdigital. We also had one more guest who hasn't joined us, but he will in some time. So we'll update you when he does. So you're going to get multiple viewpoints today from people who work very closely with business analysts and some of them who are business analysts themselves. So let's start with a presentation then. Please remember during the presentation, we will be launching some interactive polls for all of you throughout the webinar. So please vote and let us know what you think about those questions. Starting firstly with, now that's the main point of this webinar, is getting an accurate role description of what a business analyst actually does. Who is a business analyst? So you can say that the generic definition generally talk about, business analysts, they identify business areas that can be improved in your organization to increase efficiency, strengthen business processes. They work with multiple people throughout departments and the hierarchy to communicate the findings and help implement the changes. But in order to get the real view and a very high level view of what business analyst does, I'm going to go to Sudesna here. And Sudesna, if you had to describe briefly the role of a business analyst in any corporate organization, how will you describe it?
So, what I mostly say is business analysts are, they are analysis ninjas. Okay, we call them ninjas in our internal world because they spend 75% of their time in analyzing problems, in analyzing, issues, in analyzing data, and they always deliver actionable insights. Okay, very important for us to understand that whatever a business analyst delivers at the end of the day, it always gives some actionable insight that has to be taken care of because it's a solution that they provide. Yeah, so they are called ninjas in our world. If I come to the terms of technology and how they work with us, they are mostly, bridging the gap between the IT and the business. Okay, so they act as a bridge between your development, your organization, your testing department, all departments of an organization, and the business as a whole, because business itself has a vision, has a goal which it has to deliver. Okay, and in the end, there has to be someone who can translate what the vision goal is of of an organization to the IT. Okay, in order to deliver a product which is successful in the market, in order to, improve the processes which is running in an organization. So business analysts, as you rightly mentioned, are agents of change because they are the ones who can identify market segments for us. They can reveal new opportunities of business for an organization. And they set very clear goals. Once they are a bridge between two different, teams, between two different perspectives, they always set clear goals. They are the ones who can bring in changes in an organization, into any business, into any product development life cycle, into any software development life cycle. Okay, any change that comes in, how that change has to be brought in, when that change has to be brought in. Okay, how it has to be deployed, how it has to be taken ahead, what impact it is going to have on the business as a whole. A business analyst is the one who's able to understand that and communicate that easily to the stakeholders.
Right. Fantastic. That's a great definition. Yeah. Going ahead to the next slide. We figured out who is a business analyst and their role in an organization. Now, how does a typical day sound for a business analyst? I mean, they have to investigate a lot of goals and issues. They have to analyze the information that comes into them in terms of statistics, processes, workflows. They have to communicate, as I said before, with a broad range of people across departments and hierarchy. They have to document those findings so that the other stakeholders are also on the same page with them. They have to evaluate those solutions. And finally, they have to instruct people on how to implement the solutions. But these are, again, as I said, very generic definitions of what a typical day will look like for a business analyst. But going back to you, Ravi, in the real world, since you work with a lot of business analysts at Hurix yourself, what are the typical functions that a BA has to perform in order to plan and implement projects and fast track them?
Absolutely. So a typical day of a BA, it sounds very interesting because a BA starts a day with interacting with the team. And as Sudesna mentioned, right, they are the agents of the change, right? So they interact with the client, they collect and they understand what the vision and the requirements a customer has. And based on that requirements, they translate that back to the team. So they start with, say, a daily stand-up that generally every project has, right? In operation, a project starts with a daily stand-up where a business analyst work with the team, explain them what are the requirements, what the vision the client wants to build. So in more of explaining them a requirement word by word, they explain the vision, they explain the goal. And once that information is shared to the team, they work along with the team to explain and ensure that it's getting applied as it's been expected, right? Because a lot of times what happens is the understanding that we get in terms of what is the requirement versus what we deliver, there are generally some sort of mismatches that happen. So a business analyst is a person who ensures that it's always on the track and communicating it to the different stakeholders, right? Now, when I say stakeholders, they are generally the internal stakeholders as well as our external stakeholders. External, which includes your clients, the product owners, the investors, anyone, right? Anyone can be the externals, and the internal is the entire team. Now, once these understandings are being explained to the team, the most important part is to get it documented. Now, the documentation is not just evidence or a document that is prepared from a project per se, but it's a Bible for the people to understand what the project is all about, what are we building, what are the visions, and keep evaluating the solution that it's on the track, the way it has been envisioned. And last but not the least, right, in the flow itself, the implementation part of it, keeping the track of it getting implemented and along with the quality and then delivering it to the client. Every project has a quality control team, which is, we call them as a QA. But a QA tests the things from a functional standpoint, but a business analyst tests it from a business standpoint. That is the requirement or the functionality is meeting the business goals for which we are building something, right? And that is what a typical day, I will say, that for a BA looks like from my perspective.
That's fantastic. Now, to the listeners who are tuned into this webinar, that's a really great insight into what, if you wish to get into BA, this is what your typical day will look like. So thanks for that, Ravi. That's a great explanation for that. Also, to the listeners, I'd like to say, if you have any questions that you want to post to the panelists over here, just use the Q&A section below or the chat section as well. You can use that to provide us your questions, and they'll get answered in the Q&A session that we have at the end of this webinar. Now, going to the next slide, we are talking about the specific roles and responsibilities that a business analyst has to perform in an organization. Now, generally, when I was talking to the panelists and these experts before the webinar, I could segregate them into three impact areas that a business analyst will work with in any organization. Now, one was pre-sales, one was business, uh, with business owners and business managers, and the last was with project managers, project owners, and the likes. So these three areas I felt was where the BA has to, interact a lot with these three departments and try to provide them solutions and solve their issues, and then work with them, collaborate with them in order to implement these projects. So we'll go one by one with the experts over here because we have experts from all of these three areas right now on a panel. And firstly, we'll go with the pre-sales area, which is our expert Pankaj Munjal is from that area. Pankaj, welcome to the webinar. And so my first question is going to be with you. And that is that according to my understanding now, the requirement analysis function in an organization is where a business analyst contributes a lot. And understanding the requirements of a project is going to be super critical for any organization who's trying to get a really big project on board. So could you shed more light on this, that how does a BA impact in these areas?
So in a pre-sales, when we talk about the business analyst as a role, so that's a really open area. Whenever, if I consider my overall experience, that's a really open discussion whether the BA is going to goal in a pre-sales or not. So if I consider the pre-sales, it's not just a role, it's a critical and I would say one of the strong pillar for me to deliver or to work as a pre-sales, to run my show as a pre-sales over there. So if I consider the business aspect, just wanted to share you the real case and scenario over there. Whenever we get the requirement, every customer has their own business requirements and has their own vision. So to vision that thing, the technical person or the technical engineer into the pre-sales or as a solution specialist or as a solution architect or whatsoever it is in a pre-sales architect, business analyst is the only person who envisions the customer expectations with respect to what he is going to expect within the propose how he wants to serve his end customer, right?
Right.
So for me, the business analyst is the most strongest pillar for me as a pre-sales. He's the only person who interacts with the customer, who understands his requirement, who envisions, who aligns his thoughts with respect to the vision of the customer, and help me out to understand, to define the scope of the work and define the understanding with respect to the customer requirement. Based on that, which is basically the key input criteria for me to design the solution or to propose any of the solution to the customer.
Right. So, a follow-up question to that is that, I mean, if the idea, the vision, and the goal of the project is all that matters, so why is it that in today's day and age, defining the scope and understanding the possibilities of the system is emphasized even more? Like, there's a lot of stress on it. Why is that?
So any expectation, any experienced professional in the market can today point out a very, very big problem for the project. That project problem, whatever has been defined, could be a failure towards the constant change in the scope, or could be a success towards the defined very thin line towards the expectation of that. So that is the area where the BA comes into the picture. So BA is the person who plays a very critical role for basically understanding the ideas, the vision, the purpose of the request of the customer, in order to translate these scope in a very defined manner, right? But now, if I consider it the today's scenario or then the age that we are working on right now, we are working in agile methodologies. We are in the agile practice says that the way we are not going to be a waterfall activity or waterfall methodology where we have a defined project and at the end of the day customer is going to be surprised with what he's expecting and what is going to be delivered. Herein the BA plays a critical role while defining or while playing a very critical with respect to streamlining the expectations, and with the every sprint with the agile methodology, he delivers the he basically presents the expectation towards the customer.
Right. So I guess with agile methodology, the BA's role is also changing
It's a
in
very
terms of
important role.
response.
It's a really critical role.
All right, fantastic. Now coming to a fresher BA who has joined Hurix, Zoeb. The question is for you that now we have all come to the understanding today that BA's role is very dynamic, as Pankaj just said. And other than the visible functions and responsibilities that we see, what else should a BA be always ready for in an organization?
Sure, Tejas. It would be really easy for me to quote, an HBR business case analysis study here, or, go by an Einstein's quote on, how knowledge is important. But the fact of the matter that remains today is knowledge is everything. So now that question arises is what is truly knowledge, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the audience would have the same question, like, in a very general sense, with the cheap access which the cheap internet brings to us today, they can go ahead and learn anything on the internet. I can be very specific also, from a project perspective. There are repositories available where they can learn about everything that is happening about the project. So where does a business analyst jump in? If you are a seasoned professional listening to me today, you would relate to the fact that we have not just in the past 20 years moved on from waterfall to agile, but our projects have also evolved in a way, going from a static model to becoming a living organism in its own sense. So what I mean by that is, our projects are building week after week, they're evolving week after week, sprint after sprint after sprint. So in this evolving world of bi-weekly sprints, business analyst takes up the responsibility of being the knowledge base of the project, which is a function that is not really visible to the world. And I'm pretty sure you cannot really prepare for it also. You just have to be on the lookout for it. And that is a fairly important role, because when you think about it, when it is required for you to elaborate a project to a stakeholder, as Ravi was mentioning before, or if you turn this around and if you have to require an idea to a development team, you need a person who understands everything, who knows it all. And this is just one point of it. If I can draw your attention towards another point, which is mentioned on the slide, there is a point mentioned that presentation and public speaking, something that you would not really relate a business analyst towards. Maybe you would relate a Steve Jobs in a black t-shirt on a grand stage with public speaking and presentation. But when you think about it, effective communication is a very big part of a business analyst role. For example, communicating abstract ideas to a client, or communicating the constraint which a development team faces to a client is also very important. So, be it short client demos for incremental feature updates, or being presentation to the management for what is the current status of the product, may sound not really important in the larger scheme of things. But when you think about it, a business analyst is at the end of the day selling. What he's selling is, when he's presenting it to a client, he's selling his hard work of his development team. Or when he is, presenting towards his development team, he's selling the idea of a client, which is very critical in a larger sense of thing, which is not really visible.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea that you presented, that BAs are the knowledge base of the project, and they can in fact become evangelists as well for the projects through the presentations as well as public speaking. So yeah, great ideas there. I believe Ravichandran has joined us now as well. He's a senior solutions architect with Hurix. So Ravichandran, a question to you. I mean, a business analyst, according to my understanding, he plays a very active role throughout a project. But what are some areas that you feel where a business analyst contributions are not really direct, but they're very important?
Hey, Ravi, you're looking on the mute.
I think you're on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I got your questions. I'd like to draw everyone's attention. Like the role of business analyst is like rather than supporting the project, I would say like they are supporting the business actually in supporting the project implementation. Rather than supporting the project implementation, they are supporting the they are supporting the business perspective. Okay, because the business analyst, they should be well versed in all the aspects. For example, if you say technically, they should be strong in the technical also. For example, if you are having a requirement, they should be having the good knowledge in the technical, like what is the latest technology implementation in this area. For example, if you are adding any controls in the form, the business analyst should be knowing the latest technology, which form control we can use for the latest modern
Right.
trend. So they should be having a good knowledge on the technical. So it is very difficult to get a well-versed business analyst. So they play a very important role in the project implementation, I would say.
Right. Fantastic. So like a follow-up to your question then,
Okay,
a business analyst also will help the project team that he's working with in order to gather functional as well as some non-functional requirements, right?
correct,
There are two types of requirements in every project. So,
correct.
uh, how do they do that in terms of gathering these requirements and have a clearer understanding of the picture?
Correct. So in the functional requirement, mostly all the requirements will happen in the daily discovery phase only, or the sprint zero, we will call it. So that we will be business analyst will be getting the complete list of requirements, and they will get all. For example, if you say functional requirement, if there is a registration, when the person user registers, and after that what will happen, the user will get a activation URL. Once they click on the activation URL, they will be taken to the they will be verified. Then after that they can able to log in. This is a functional flow. So this is the functional flow. Everything will be happen in the discovery phase only. Okay. And non-functional flow, I would say, related to like which are non-functional. Like if you say, for example, if you take as a any compatibility testing, for example, if you the registration flow is there, what are the browsers or what screen size it should support. For example, it should support only Chrome, or what is the version in the Chrome, and what is the version of Firefox it should support, and what is the screen size, and it should be responsive. And what about the accessibility of this registration? So this kind of all this non or any related to any automation testing related, or performance related, or so these kind of all non-functional requirements also they will be creating in the non-functional areas.
Right, great. I didn't know about these requirements that a BA has to also look at the browser support and all of these other requirements as well. That's
Correct,
great. They have
because
to look at both.
your project has both functional and non-functional. So the business analyst should be well versed in the non-functional requirement also. So that is
Okay.
also it's come in the requirement only, non-functional.
Fantastic. Thanks for enlightening us all and to the listeners as well. I hope, there's a request to the listeners that please put in your questions in the Q&A section or the chat section as well, and we'll take them in the Q&A session at the end. Also, some interactive polls will be running throughout the webinar, so please vote in and tell us what you feel about the questions. I'm going to Sudesna, who's the head of BA services again. Sudesna, there's a famous quote at least in the IT software industry that, quality is never an accident. It is always the result of some kind of an intelligent effort. So
Yes.
why do you think that we need a business analyst testing a product when we can, as you said earlier, when we can have a fully fledged quality assurance or quality control team already working on it?
Right. So, at the end of the day, everyone, okay, whether it is project, whether it is business, yeah, we always have a goal to deliver the best possible solution available, yeah, to our customers, right?
Yeah.
It can be internal customers, it can be external customers, right? For a BA, customer there is no restriction of a customer for a BA. Yeah, you can also be a customer for a BA. Someone external client also can be a customer to us. Now, what we look forward is to provide a solution which will mitigate, the best possible solution that will mitigate their requirement. Now, in order to do that, how do we ensure that Because how do we ensure that the quality of the product has been maintained? Now the quality team, as you rightly said, right? Quality team is already present to do some testing, to tell us whether the functionality, the features are working perfectly fine or not. However, a business analyst is a checkpoint, okay? Is a checkpoint before a product moves from the development into the customer area, okay? And that's what we call as user acceptance testing, okay? The first level of user acceptance testing is done or should be done by a business analyst for every project, for every, you know, document, even a document that is going out to a stakeholder, right? Because the business analyst can relate the features, the functionality to the business that is going to be, you know, impacted, okay?
Right.
A BA is a person who can look at the product from a business perspective, which the development or the quality team might not do. Because for a developer, it's, you know, A equals to go from A to B, B to C, your job is done, right? For a tester, check whether I'm able to traverse from A to B, from B to C or not. However, a BA will understand and tell you whether traversing from A to B and B to C is the right path, or can there be something else which the development team has missed. And development team always looks, or the development QA team, you know, they look from the technology perspective. They do not look from a business perspective to a development that is done. Even within an organization, if I look at, you know, processes being improved, or if I look at some report that has to be delivered to a CEO or to a VP of a company, and a BA is, you know, working or handling on that report. Now, reports can be prepared by a lot of people within a company. A BA can actually understand by looking at the report, or even tell you whether this report has any impact on the business, whether it will actually help the CEO, the VP, or it's just a collection of data, which is of no use to the business.
Right. Okay. I think that's what even one listener is saying, Vaibhav is saying, quality is everyone's responsibility, dev, QA as well as BA. It's for all, but BA should do the final round of check after the QA. So from business perspective, that's absolutely right. So that was pretty interesting. So I mean, but still there's a question like, why are technical writing or, you know, decision making, problem solving, why is that such a crucial part of every business analyst's roles and responsibilities according to you?
I would say a business, you know, the success of a business is not just dependent on the value proposition it has, right? But also it is dependent on the way the things have been communicated, in the way the information has flown in the entire cycle. Okay, that's very important. And in order for us to ensure or to, you know, see that information flows in the right manner, there is no communication errors happening, there is no broken processes within the system, a BA faces these challenges day in and day out. Okay, they come across situations where the processes are broken, the communication has not been done properly, okay, the message is not conveyed correctly the way it should have been. In order to do that, they have to, you know, they have to be the best in writing that, documenting that in a layman's language, so that anybody who reads that document is able to understand and grasp what is required, or what is the output of that going to be at the end. Now, coming to the technical writing, right? A technical writing document or a technical document as such, for a customer, it can be at a different level. It can have different, you know, way of expressing that to a customer. That's why they write user stories, which is written in a much simpler manner. Okay, it's the simplest way to write the user story, because the customer is involved here. They have to understand it from the, you know, from their business perspective. Now, when it comes to the development team, right? If I have to write a document for a development team, I write a functional specification document as a BA. I write functional requirement, non-functional requirement, because that's what the technical team will understand. Okay. For them to understand, I cannot just write, click here. I have to write, there has to be a button. Okay. Button has to be built in this way so that technically they can understand, okay, how the front end back end is going to communicate. That is very important for them to understand because they are delivering a feature at the end. Yeah. And coming to problem solving or decision making, as you just, asked now. A BA's job is to analyze problems and provide solutions to it. It can be any kind of a problem in a project, if I look at as a whole, not just for development, for anything. Okay. Even a BA can work as a project manager if required in a project. Okay. A BA can be a sole responsible person to handle the customer at the end. Okay. Any problem that the customer shoots can be any problem, right? The BA has to analyze and answer that. So they have to be very strong in analyzing problems and taking decisions to solve them, taking the right decisions at the right time. That, if I make this decision, I have to check A, B, C, D, the impacts at every area. Yeah. And then I have to give a solution to that as a BA. So rightly mentioned, a BA should be strong in decision making, should be strong in problem solving, and should have strong technical knowledge as well to write the documents for the project or for the organization.
That's it. So BA actually fixes all the loopholes that are there in processes, and they have to be really good in decision making and problem solving, as well as communicating the problems to all the stakeholders with the writing. Fantastic.
Right.
Now, since we have Ravi Sharma over here, who works in technology operations, who has worked very closely with BAs here, I'm going to take this question to him. Where Ravi, systems and operations seem to be such a huge part of any project, right? So why do you think that the maintenance of these systems and operations to keep them going and working very smoothly is a crucial part of every BA's responsibility within a project?
Right. I was reading the chats that we are getting on the chat window, and there was a one quote: "Quality is everyone's responsibility. Dev, QA, BA. It's for all." See, it's a true point that it's a responsibility of every person who is a part of a team. But what happens in the real world is that due to the deliverables, due to the timelines, sometimes the team, they kind of rush into the activities, and that is where the quality check team, the business analyst team, they try to ensure that we don't miss those pointers, and those have been taken care very clearly, right? So as I said, defect and irregularities are something that everybody wants to avoid in a project, right? We don't want that at any cost in a project, but sometimes it does happen. So a BA is a part of that community which helps us to keep our system running smooth and free of defects. Now, how does that happen? Is by performing the user acceptance, validating the functionalities, whether it is done as per the need, and also ensuring that we are not over-engineering the functionality. A lot of time it is observed in the operation, especially where a requirement is to build say X, and we have tried to build say X1, where it's clearly mentioned in the user story, in the acceptance criteria, everywhere, that it needs to be something as mentioned. But due to over commitment or over making customer happy, right, we end up building that. So these roles, right, they try to act to control them, right? And that is where a BA, see, a project manager is very much responsible for the deliverables, but the business analyst is responsible for the business goal deliverables, right? So what vision we are taking and we are building the product, right? That is it getting met or not is something that a BA, I will say, is solely responsible to help the team to get it achieved.
All right, fantastic. So BA sometimes has to cross the line and say that if the customers ask for X, we only have to deliver X. There's no need to do X plus Y over here.
Right.
And that's how it works. Fantastic. So saving the last question of this roles and responsibilities that we have for a BA, that's to you again, Ravi. Save the best for the last. But in terms of team building, since the BA has to work with various other stakeholders and departments throughout the business hierarchy. What do you think is the role of a BA in terms of team building?
Right. See, generally, when we talk about a project, right? Project is primarily comprises of different skill sets, right? One of the very important person in a project is a scrum master or the project owner or project manager, who is solely responsible for all the deliverables. Now, what happens when a project manager is not available? See, in a project, we always have issues where people are not available due to XYZ reasons. Now, in that situation, a BA is a person who steps up and who takes the in charge of the project and says that, okay, let's deliver this. A BA does a project planning, but a BA helps the team to drive them and achieve to a goal. And that's the reason why we say a business analyst is a proxy product owner. Now, a product owner is a person, generally, like we all say, a product owner is a customer, right? But a product owner is the owner of the product who derives what he wants. And a BA works very closely to the product owner. So especially when you are working with the international customers, like where we have a time zone difference, the business analyst offshore business BA team, right? Our BA teams, they behave like a client. They challenge the team that why do you want to do this? How we want to do this? So they actually act like a customer. And the most common word we call them as a proxy product owners, right? So they help the team to define and they step up to take the additional responsibility in driving the team to achieve the goals that we are working towards.
Fantastic. So to the listeners over here to the webinar, or those who are budding BA enthusiasts, BAs can actually have a career path directly to be product managers, product owners, or even project managers. As rightly said by Ravi, they are proxy product owners already. So that could be a really great career path for them, starting from BA and getting into product full scale. So yeah, that's really great. So now we talked about what is the current situation right now with BAs, how is the current role, what are their roles and responsibilities, what do they exactly do. They have a myriad of functions over there. But what about the future scopes of BA? Like, how do you think is the BA role changing as we go into the future? So I'd like to come to all of you with this question, starting first with Zoeb, who is right now the fresher BA that we have. He's facing BA tasks day in and day out. What do you think is the future, Zoeb, for a BA role?
Question maybe on this job, I'm doing this job. How I break down this question is one would be short term, one would be long term. If you think about it on a short term basis, we have been hit by COVID. COVID has brought a digital.
Kind of lost Zoeb, did we?
Yeah, I think so. I think we can come back to Zoeb again. We can go to the next one.
No problem. We can go to Pankaj with this question. Pankaj, how do you think the role of BA is changing?
Okay, so in my perspective, considering whatever the BA contributes the overall project life cycle as a business delivery, whether we consider it from the start, like the initiation from the pre-sales or the requirement analysis, as I would say, early seed of the requirement, when a very high level outline is being shared by the customer that he is expecting something this within his business. So starting from that towards the whole life cycle, which is the end of the project, which is the delivery. With respect to it, is really important to understand the business requirement with the current technology and advancement and the research and the research and development has been done, the advancement that has been taken into the place, the business requirement is expanding at its best. Right now, if we consider the requirement when the IT revolution came in 1998 or something, but like the Y2K problem or something, nobody was envisioning that a system will come in when we will be having a interactive video classes, right? Or we will be having a eye contact based maybe proctoring kind of activity. If I take it, the proctoring may be a technical word, but if I something like that, I'm giving an assignment or I'm doing some assessment. So you are an examiner, you can judge me with respect to my face reading and all that. That kind of advancement is being done now. To understand this whole change in the business requirement and this business world, it is really important to understand the business aspect of that, and that where the business analyst comes in. He has to be a technical, well equipped, at least with the functional domain. What is the functional market or the business is expecting, understanding that aspect, and getting them like how to understanding that requirement and aligning that requirement to the technical person, so that he can define the solution, he can drive the solution, and he can develop the solution. So for me,
Fantastic.
yes.
That's how the role of BA is changing. Sudesna, what about your opinion?
So, when I look at BA, I believe, the work of a BA can never be automated. Okay, as you might have heard all these, since last 40 minutes from all of us, that a BA needs to have an empathy, needs to have a human touch, okay, to whatever they deliver. This is the only, work which can never be automated. Okay, so the role of a BA, whether I start as a BA or I move up in the ladder to become a consultant at the end, my job is always secured. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the long run, what happens, business analysts, they start very young, they start as a BA, but they work parallelly with the product owners, with the product managers of different customers. Yeah, they get exposure to varied types of customers, varied types of product managers, product owners, okay, or maybe the client stakeholders or the SMEs that we talk about. Now, while they are, experiencing this, they gain a lot of knowledge, okay, and slowly and steadily, a business analyst can transition into a role of a product manager, okay, which is because for them, it's an easy path to move from a BA's role to a product manager. They know already 80% of what they have to do. They have to learn 20% only, right? But for some other areas, if I look at a developer, or if I look at a project manager, or if I look at QA, for those people to transition into a product manager to become maybe at the end of VP of product in a company, it becomes difficult because they have never looked at anything from a business point of view. So I believe the transitioning, it becomes easy for them. And in different organizations, as we just mentioned, some time back, that apart from IT development, a BA can have a role to play in all different types of organizations, okay, and can cater to internal stakeholders also. So if I look at different types of organizations, right, a BA in a consulting company can grow as a consultant, okay, in a strategic organization or in different departments, they can become a VP of strategy because they are born or they learn that from the beginning while they start working. So a BA can move to very different roles if they are, looking forward to not just remain as a BA, senior BA, lead BA, but as a consultant, as a VP, okay, of a product or of a strategy.
That's right. So first point for the listeners, that the BA role cannot be automated. No AI is going to get into this. So you can, for the budding BA enthusiasts, you can definitely go ahead with this career. And the second one is that the BAs can definitely get into a direct career path. As Ravi said, there are proxy product owners or product managers, project managers, even VP of strategy.
Right.
That's
and
fantastic.
just to add here, right? See, artificial intelligence or machine learning, it's basically they work on algorithm, they work on patterns, right? The sectors where the patterns can be defined, where the predictability is very high, obviously AI and ML will take over the role and responsibility. But when you come to a location where you have to think, you have to evaluate, you have to judge, right? And the judgment is not based on some data fed, but is based on the experience and the vision, right? This is something where AI and ML will take some time to reach. And for sure, till the time we will have our business analyst team fulfilling those requirements. And I just had a quick glance at the time, right? We at 9:45, and we do
Yeah.
have almost like five questions in the Q&A session. So I think we should take those, because those are
Definitely.
also very interesting questions that we should help answer them.
I was just going to go into that. So a lot of interesting questions have come in. One of them is by Arnab, who says that to understand or gather the requirements of the client, we hear a lot of discovery phase that has to be done for projects. How does BA help in the discovery phase, and how critical is this discovery phase? Who would like to take that one?
I'll take that, Tejas. Thanks, Arnav,
Right.
for asking the question. Now coming to discovery phase of a project, okay? As the name suggests, right? Discovery. You are discovering something about what is going to be delivered, okay? A BA's role at the beginning, the discovery phase is the first phase in the development life cycle, okay? Now, a BA's role is to understand what is happening as of today in that system, which the client wants to improve or the client wants to take ahead. Whether if they're looking to build some application, are they currently running some manual methods to, work it through, or they are doing some other sort of, haywire things, which is not properly working, not giving them 100% success. So a BA comes into picture, they discuss with the client, they go into multiple meetings, okay, during the discovery phase. They do a lot of brainstorming activities. They do a lot of interviews with the client to understand what is their as-is process, what is their pain area that we are trying to, solve. Until I don't understand your pain area, I cannot tell what will be the solution to solve that.
Right.
Okay. And business has its own pain areas, right? Which differs from the technology per se. So in the discovery phase, what we do is we find out the as-is processes, and then we define what will be the to-be processes, right? What should be the process for making the product successful in the market? Okay, so this definition is done by the BA. Apart from that, in the discovery phase, there's a role from the UI UX team also. They come up, they try and design screens if required of an application for the client, just to tell that basis on what is our understanding, this should be your, look and feel of the screen. This should be your user experience. And then we also define the user flow. What will be the journey of the user when they are using that application? Okay. This is all defined and, documented in the discovery phase, because this phase will sort out your 90% issues that will come up in the actual development when happens, because you have understood everything in this phase, right? The nitty-gritties will come in the development, but at a high level, you are clear what has to be delivered.
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question, Arnab. The next question we're going to take is, what do you feel are the most important quality/skill/competency that a BA should have? Who would like to take this one?
Okay, skill, competency, and quality. Okay, skill, they should have, very strong, I would say, strong communication skills. Okay, when it comes to communication skills, right? There's one thing which I say to all the fresher BAs who actually join as a fresher and they are into a BA role, right? For us, the most important thing is, if I have to explain a feature, okay, to a stakeholder, if I have to explain a functionality to a stakeholder, I would say, first go ahead and explain it to a 5-year-old child. If you are able to explain what is required or a feature to a 5-year-old child, you would very well be able to convince your stakeholders, your development team, everybody in the world. Okay, because then you come to the lowest level where you can explain. So communication skills and the way it has to be communicated is the most important skill that I believe a business analyst should possess. Okay, coming to the competencies that they should have, yes, there are some defined, KRAs which a business analyst should possess or should be able to deliver. They should be strong in writing, which will definitely come up with experience. And the most important part, a skill which might not be written anywhere, what I, with my experience, I have come up and I have understood is reading the minds of your customer. Okay, unless you are not able to read the mind of your customers, internal, external stakeholders, you cannot define what they want. Okay, a BA can, with experience, be able to read and understand what is the end goal of the customer. Okay, reading minds is the most important thing apart from communication skills status.
I just want to add one more point onto the what Sudesna said. The key attribute, I would say, or the skills, or what we call it as that way, the perception. So perception, if I talk about the perception for the BA, I mean to say that a particular way of looking, or how a particular thing a BA understands it, right? How the problem is being understood by the BA. That is another one of the key aspect a BA should have. The way he is going to understand the requirement is something the customer is expecting. That's another thing I just want to add over here.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Pankaj. There's a question by Arun Balan, which maybe Pankaj you can answer. So they're saying today's world deals with data and management of data. So how is the role of an IT BA suitable with respect to data management?
Okay, so if we talk about the data management as a role, so just before that, just wanted to just highlight one point is BA is not just a person who is associated to the one as understanding the requirement. Basically, the BA again has a diversified role. BA in a pre-sales, BA in a projects, BA in a business intelligence, or maybe a data analytics and all that, right? So every BA has a defined role. And every role has a defined very key expectations from that. So with respect to the data, it is really important to create a perception or to create an attribute while going into the data into that. So for example, if we talk about the data of the market, how it is going to, what is the stats we are going to capture in. If I could say create a campaign, or if I say that I just wanted to create we have a data from the different geographies where we are going to planning up to launch a product. So that base data is going to help me as a, so the BAs needs to do some kind of the analysis onto that data, where what will be the target, what could be the best target market for me, what could be the best demographic profiling for me, right? So that I get a best success onto that project. If I'm going to run a campaign as a marketing campaign, as a digital campaign, before defining that the objective of the campaign, so with the defining of the objective of the campaign, a BA is a person who helps the marketing executive with the baseline, what should be based on the objective, what should be the target market, what should be the traction, what should be the campaign planning and all that stuff.
All right, fantastic. I hope that answers your question, Arun. We actually have
there
a
was
lot of questions.
There was one of the questions which I wanted to take. So there was a question that says, do BA need technical knowledge about any programming language?
Yeah.
Right. So this is very interesting, right? We do a lot of time come across people who are very technically sound, and the technical knowledge always helps, right? A programming language know-how, it is always an add-on for any role that you perform. We have been hearing techno project managers, I will say quality engineer with a technical knowledge like a programming like Python or something, or Selenium automation, right? So all this is an add-on, I will say. But the primary fact, what Sudesna was saying, right? If I'm able to explain the requirements to a 5-year-old kid, right, I'm able to achieve my goal. So the main agenda is to ensure that we are able to explain what we are trying to achieve, and the technical addition to the skills, I will say, it's an add-on, but it's not a mandatory requirement, unless it's a very technical project per se, where you have to very much be focused on the technology and other things. It's the only exception where you need to have a technical skills, but that is, I will say, as per my experience, it's a 5% of the overall observance that I have seen in the market.
All right, fantastic. So we'll take one last question before we finish the session, because we have a lot of questions. And to the listeners who have given these questions, which don't get answered this time, don't worry about it. Our experts will be writing to you answering these questions. Like Zoeb has already answered one question by Akash in the section itself on which documents are required for a BA. So that a BA creates. So that's fantastic. We'll be answering all of these questions. But one last question I'd like to take is by Tanuja Gupta. And she's saying, with the introduction of agile methods, is the BA role diminishing as the agile methods do not require a vast documentation on the role? And is the role getting evaluated in order to satisfy the agile needs?
I will take that because it's from operations. And see, agile methodology is a thought process that helps us to deliver a project or a product. Okay, which means, so we need to understand the fundamentals of agile. Why people are moving from waterfall methodology to agile methodology. We are not here to debate which is good, which is bad, but why agile is better, because agile helps you to deliver in a short turnaround time, which we call it as a sprints, which is like of 2 weeks time. In a 2-week time, we are able to deliver a working software to the customer. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't need the artifacts that are required to support the deliverables. Now, the artifacts are primarily what we call them as a functional requirement documents, functional specification documents, your user acceptance criteria, etc. Now, these documents are as equally important as the deliverables are, because when the product is built, right, a product will always have tons of features, and those features need to be explained to someone, right? And these documentations will help. So whenever we start with a sprint, we start with the sprint with explaining the requirements to the development team. They start working on the requirements, and the business analyst team, they start writing the documentations of the upcoming sprints. We always say that the BA and the QA should always run 2 sprints ahead along with the UX team. Why? Because these are the important facts. Now, detailing and creating tons of documents, those are not required as a part of Agile. But yes, documentation plays a crucial role for any software development. It depends on how much amount of documents we are preparing.
Right. So BAs actually still impact agile methodology, and the role is not really diminishing. I hope that answers your question, Tanuja. As you can see on the slides over here, that's all about the time we have today for you on the webinar. But at Hurix, we help organizations from across industries to achieve their business goals, the future-ready learning content solutions, cloud platforms, content transformation technology services, and yes, most importantly, also BA services. We also provide our business analyst services for your mission-critical projects across organizations. So if you want to explore our BA services, let's talk. You can explore more about us by setting up a quick call on the link provided on the slide over here. I can also put that link on the chat. And I would like to thank all the panelists for the time and the insights today. It's been incredible. The kind of knowledge that you have shared, the kind of listeners that we had were also budding BA analysts, the product managers, across all the different departments we have, and they've gained a lot of practical insights from you. I hope the listeners here will be able to get some really valuable insights into business analysts and BAs. I'll just put that link over here to explore our services so that you can get on a quick call with us and explore our BA services and talk to experts. Thanks a lot, everyone, for tuning in. Goodbye and good night. Thanks a lot to the panel.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Have a good day. Good night.
Yeah, I did.